Bang! Neeves Knives, I'm Jared, and today we have kind of an interesting video. I'm going to take 5 random knives and I'm going to rank them. So the way I'm going to do it is there's 5 categories, and they can either get a 0, a 1, or a 2. Now, depending on the 5 categories, what number they get between a 0, 1, and a 2, the best possible thing they could get is a 10. The worst is a 0. So at the end, we will find out between 0 to 10 what they rank. Now, this has nothing to do with how much I like it or anything like that. A knife could get a 4, and I might like it more than one that got a 10. But let's get into it. This is the MAXACE Beetle, and it's M390 steel, titanium with carbon fiber. It is a slip joint, but it has multiple stops, so it has this weird sound. It's pretty cool, but it's mega slicey and really good ergos. Now, starting to list off, ergos and blade, how they complement each other. That is going to be number 1. Ergos and blade, how they complement each other. I think this complements each other perfectly. I am going to give it a perfect score, a 2. Because it is really, really good. You can hold it in any grip very comfortably. The blade is just super slicey. But number 2 would be price and materials. This is around $148. But you're getting titanium, M390, and carbon fiber. I got to give it a 2 on that one. It's pretty good. The price is not bad on this. I know it's just a slip joint, but it is very, very well done. So, yeah, I got to give it a 2. Next would be action. Now, this is where it's going to slouch a little bit because it's a slip joint. You know, even though slip joints can be fun, and I'm not saying they're not fun or anything like that, and I actually like the way this one is because of all those stops. I can safely close it one-handed, and I do like that about this knife, but I still got to give it a number 1 because, you know, it's not drop shotty or anything like that. Next is performance. Number 4, performance. How does it work as a tool? How does it perform? And it is getting a perfect score on this one, 100%. Because of the way the handle complements the blade, and look at how slicey this blade is. It's like 70 thousandths thick, this blade. It is mega thin. Super thin behind the edge, too. It's like, I think it was like 8 to 10 thousandths behind the edge or something like that. This thing passes through materials like butter. So it is getting a number 2 perfect score. And then last is clip and carry. Number 5, clip and carry. Obviously, we don't have a clip, so it is going to be a negative on that one. Now, you could get a slip. It doesn't come with a slip, but you could get a slip, you know, to put it in and put it in your pocket, or you can just drop it in your pocket. But because it does not have any clip or way to carry it, and it doesn't come with anything, it's getting a 0 on that. Next knife. So the total score for the Beetle was 7. It got a 7 out of 10, which is a pretty good score, to be honest. Next is the OFFGRID Stinger XL, and it is a beast. It is a beast of a knife. Very large, 154 cm, G10, reversible deep carry clip that is inset with flat screws, steel liner lock, flipping action, and it's a pretty badass knife. It's a big beast of a knife, somewhat of a tactical-ish style knife. Now, first one, ergos and blade. How do they complement each other? I'm giving it a perfect score for that because the ergos are fantastic on this. It feels like you're hanging on to a fixed blade because it is a big knife. So it feels like a fixed blade. It's going to work in different grips, and the blade, you know, for its purpose and everything, they work well together. So I got to give this one a 2 between the ergos and blade and how they complement each other. Next is price and materials. Price and materials, this is like $109, something like that, a little over $100. I'm going to give it a 1 because it's not horrifying, but it's also not a great price. You know, it's just okay. You know, it's average, I guess you could say. So So not a great score, but not a bad score. Next would be action. And the action is great on this. For how big and heavy this blade is, this thing is snappy. The D10 is, at least on my example, very, very good action. Good access to the lock bar. Easy to get past the D10. Very smooth on the drop. Yeah, I'm giving this a 2 out of, or a number 2. Perfect score for the action. Next is performance. Performance again. How does it perform when cutting? It actually performs pretty good. However, it doesn't have like a super slicey grind, even though it does slice really well, and it's mostly for poking. And poking, you know, it would get a perfect score for that. But talking about cutting performance and slicing things specifically, I'm only going to give it a 1 because the grind is not, it's not a broad grind, it's a shallow grind. So, you know, the geometry from the thickest point to the thinnest point is not much of a taper, but the ergos do make up for it. It is a great slicer and it does work really good, but I can't give it a 2 because, you know, it's never going to be able to compete with something that's mega slicey as far as cutting performance goes. So, you know, poking and stabbing, that's a different story, but we're going to give it a 1. And then last, clip and carry. How does it carry? It carries great. It is a big knife. So, but that's subjective on, you know, what size knife you like. Regardless of the size and the weight and everything, the clip works great. It hangs onto the knife very well. It slips in and out very well. It's inset with flat screws, so it's getting a number 2. It works great. So, no problems with that. So, let's get to the next knife. Oh, what? This one got a number 8. It got an 8. That's pretty good. So 8 out of 10. Damn good score. The next knife is the Savivi Banner Ray. Nitro V steel, steel bolster lock, deep carry, reversible clip, and it has a flipping action. It has a spear point blade. I do really love the profile of this. Not usually a fan of holes, but I love the profile of this. But let's start off with the ergos and blade. Now, I love the way the handle and the blade complement each other on this. It's super neutral. No matter what grip you're in, it's going to work great. And I do really like that. So I'm going to give it a 2 for that. The handle and the blade just worked really well together. Next, price and materials. Not the best. I think it's about $93, right around there. So for around $95, nah. Nitro V steel, you know, it's not the best price. So I'm just going to give it a 1. I'm not going to kill it. You know, it's not going to get a 0, but it's going to get a 1. It's not the best price. Action. Now, the flipping action is good. It is good. However, the flipper tab is a little mute. And even though a lot of people like that, and it does work well, they did not make a cutout for the lock bar. They just chamfered the inside, so that is going to take away something. It is very smooth. It is very snappy. I did have to fix one of the ones I got. The detent wasn't falling in place, but I'm not going to consider that. But I'm going to give it a 1. Average, you know, it's nothing that just stands out as amazing, but it does have good action, though. So, you know, giving it a 1 doesn't mean anything really bad. I wish they would have put a cutout here and, you know, maybe the flipper tab being a little bit more comfortable, but it's fine. But it got a 1. And then performance. How is the performance? Well, again, it's going to get a 1 for the performance category. Even though the blade and handle complement each other very well, and it is pretty slicey, when you're cutting with it, you know, this isn't the biggest handle, and this isn't a knife built for performance. This is an EDC knife, lightweight EDC tool. It's somewhat of a gent carry. Yes, it will work great for a work knife in some cases. You know, like, what I mean is that if you needed to cut ropes, you know, you'd be just fine. If you need to break down cardboard, you'd be just fine. If you need to do utility cuts, you'd be just fine. But long-term use, you know, the handle, it can get a little bit uncomfortable. So it's not going to be the most ergonomic, and that has mostly to do with like depth and width and everything. But it's really good, like really, really good. And I do really like the way it performs. But I can't give it a 2. I have to give it a 1. And then last is clip and carry. And Again, it's going to get a 1 because it's, it's just a standard deep carry clip. It works. The holes, if they wouldn't have put the hole there, I might give it a 2, but it kind of catches on. It's not bad, but you can feel that hole underneath the clip. Maybe they should have avoided that one hole on this side, but I guess then it would look weird if they reversed it. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it works good. And it carries really good because it is somewhat lightweight and, pretty simple and narrow, but I can't give it a 2, so I got to give it a 1. So the total number for the Savivi Banner Ray is a 6. A 6. The lowest on the chart yet, but not that big of a deal, and I really like that knife. Next is the KIZER PPY, but this one is the Refir Noble scaled version, an S35VN, brass faux bolsters, steel liner, stupid good action. Oh, this action is so good. Ceramic caged bearings, fall shut action, great jimping, Spanish spear point blade. I do love the Spanish spear points. I think they work great for EDC. I think this is a very, very, very functional blade shape. Deep carry clip that's reversible, somewhat of a basic clip, but let's get into it. So, first one, ergos / blade. I got to give it a 2. The blade and the handle complement each other so nicely on this. Pinch grips are great. Utility cuts are great. Ergos are really good. Even though I do feel the clip quite a bit, and maybe if it was a different clip, it'd be even a little bit more comfortable, but it works. It's fine. I'm not going to bitch about it too much. I'm going to give it a good score on that. So the ergos and blade do complement each other very much on this knife, especially for what it's for. And, I like to rate things on what they're for. Next, price / materials. Now, this is where this one hits a wall. It is going to get a 0. So originally, this was like $170. I did complain about that and say this is an outrageous price. I did recently see that they're like $150 now, so they did drop the price a little bit, which I do think is much better than the original price, but I still think that's a little bit much. These Refir Noble scales, yeah, they're cool. Yeah, it's S35VN, but come on, guys. This isn't a titanium frame lock, right? This is Refir Noble scales. You're not going to tell me that this stuff costs more than titanium or anything. And brass. Brass, yes, it's not super duper cheap, but it's also not very expensive. It's a fairly affordable material. And then steel liners. So budget materials. The clip is just a regular bent over deep carry clip. S35VN is the biggest thing here. So, and I don't see over $100 for something like this, especially like over $120. But so 0 on that. I do think this is very much overpriced. Next would be action, and this is going to get a 2. The action is so good. Fall shut action. It is a guillotine. Great access to the lock bar. Very easy to get past the detent. Stupid smooth on the drop. The detent for the thumb studs is perfection. This thing is so snappy. So easy to deploy. So yeah, it gets a 2. Perfect score for action. Performance. Now, the performance is lacking just a little bit because, the clip is kind of in the hand, and even though the blade and handle complement each other well, over long term, it's not going to be the best because the clip's going to start annoying you. It's kind of narrow. It's a little bit smaller. Now, it's going to work good, so that's why I'm going to give it a 1. I'm not going to give it a 0. It gets a 1. It's still good, but it's not something that stands out as outstanding. As far as performance goes. But I will say it's very versatile and it will work good for most things because of the blade shape and the way the blade and handle complement each other so well. And then last, clip and carry. Clip and carry, it's just a basic clip. It's not in set. It does have flat screws. I might have gave it a 2 if it was in set, but it's not. It is reversible, but it's only going to get a 1. It's average. It's a budget clip. Nothing fancy, nothing great. It works, So, number 1. And that's going to leave us with a 6. So, 6 out of 10 for the KIZER PPY Refir Noble Edition. And then last, we have the TRIVISA TRIVISA EDC pocket knife. So, the TRIVISA EDC pocket knife has S35 VM blade steel, titanium milled titanium clip, I believe it's a milled titanium pivot collar, steel liner lock, G10 scales, and then it has this thumb disc thing that works really, really well. It has all these chamfers around it that make it to where whatever angle your thumb lands onto that, it works great. G10 backspacer, and like I said, it is S35 VM blade steel, and it has flipping action. Flipping and thumb stud action. Now, let's get to the first one. The first one is ergos and blade. How does it complement each other? Well, this one's not going to be, I'm going to give it average because the ergos are good. You know, it does feel good in the hand. It is nice and comfortable. But the blade doesn't complement the handle as well as it could. Like doing a reverse grip, it's not the most comfortable. Can I do it? Yeah, it's fine. Pinch grips, they're okay. They're pretty good. And this thing is going to be a great utility cutter. So it's good. But, you know, it's not outstanding. So I'm going to give it a 1 for ergos and blade and how they complement each other. It looks good. You know, don't get me wrong. It's good. It's just, you know, it's not outstanding. Next would be price and materials. I think this one was $100, I think. $109. I'm going to give it a 1 because that's not... Yeah, it's S35VN. Again, you know, kind of like the one we were talking about earlier with PPY. So S35VN, good steel. It does have a titanium milled pocket clip, so that's a bump up. So it's not a bad price. It's just, it's not outstanding, but it's not a bad price. It's a good price. I'm happy with it, but it's, you know, not outstanding. So it's going to get a 1. Action. So it has really good action. The detent is super solid. I love the detent on this. This thing kicks. It really does. Flipping action. It's hard to fail. Great flipping action. Good access to the lock bar. Now, if I want to reverse flick it, I have to do it off the blade because the thumb disc is not double-sided. So that's where it gets a point taken away. If it had this thumb disc thing on this side and I could flick off of it, like I just did, but there's nothing on that side, I would give it a 2. But since they took that away, I have to use like the side of the blade, and I'd prefer to have the disc on both sides where I could reverse flick off of it, but it's really good action. Like I said, if not for that, I would give it a 2, but it's going to get a 1 because it doesn't have a double-sided thumb stud. Next would be performance. How does it perform? So utility cuts, it'd be like a 10. You know, it works great for utility cuts, but when we're talking about standard slicing, breaking down cardboard, cutting rope, straps, and all that stuff, it's good. You know, it's average, but it's nothing fantastic, right? The geometry's normal. It's good. Average geometry. The ergos, you know, are good, and it pushes through very well. So, but it's nothing outstanding. So, it's going to get a 1. Then last, the clip and carry with the titanium milled pocket clip. It is getting a perfect score. This is a fantastic clip. This clip works so good in and out of the pocket. At least all the times I've carried it, it has been very smooth. It doesn't chew up the pockets. It goes over nice and comfortably. It's got plenty of spring on it. Not too much spring though, so it still hangs on good. So yeah, it's going to get a perfect score, a 2. And that rounds it out to 6 points. So we have 3. They got a 6 out of 10. Remember, we're not comparing them, but they did get a 6 out of 10. Then we have a 7, or sorry, wait, it went like this, sorry. These 3 got a 6 out of 10. This one got an 8, and this one got a 7. So 8, 7, 6, 6, 6. So there is the score. I do like them all. It's very hard for me to pick which one I like the most because I like knives for different reasons. So, you know, obviously as a self-defense knife, I would pick, you know, the Stinger. For a light duty EDC, the PPY is amazing. For a mega slicer, the Beetle, I mean, it is, and for somewhat of a gent mega slicer, for a very functional gent knife, or maybe if you're going to a place where you can't have a locking knife, this is great. I would love to see them make this just like this in a locking version. Oh, I would love to see that. I think they had one. I can't remember, but it was different though. Anyways, this same thing, it would fit pretty much the same category as this. Somewhat of a light duty gent knife. I love how versatile the blade is. I do like the knife a lot. And then this would be a basic EDC knife, you know, nothing specific, just a basic EDC knife. It's going to be a good utility cutter, good work knife, solid choice. And it is very, very well done. They did a great job on this one. But anyways, there you guys go. Let me know what you think about this video. I love you guys. Peace.